This is the Untold Italy travel podcast, and you're listening to episode number 202.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti to Untold Italy, the travel podcast where you go to the towns and villages, mountains and lakes, hills and coastlines of Bella Italia. Each week your host, Katie Clark, takes you on a journey in search of magical landscapes, history, culture, wine, gelato, and of course, a whole lot of pasta. If you're dreaming of Italy and planning future adventures there, you've come to the right place.
Buongiorno everyone! Can you believe we're almost at the end of 2023? This year has zipped by so quickly it seems, and here we are about to head into Christmas. It's been a huge year for Untold Italy and travel in Italy in general. All indications are this was one of, if not the busiest seasons for the Italian tourism industry since records began. But do you know where it wasn't so busy? Umbria. And that's where we're headed to today. We cannot fathom why Umbria isn't as busy as Tuscany, but we like it that way. It's a beautiful and peaceful corner of Italy where people just get on doing what they've always done for centuries. We just wrapped up our first tour there, and I just loved what our guest Barbara had to say. She said, "I didn't feel like I was a tourist. I felt like a local visiting family and friends." Exactly how we feel, and it's why we choose to vacation and celebrate special moments there ourselves. But there is one place in Umbria that has seen a constant stream of visitors throughout the years, and that's Assisi, the town we're visiting today. Joining me is Isabella Belluci, a local guide from the Umbria region, here to tell us all about the beautiful town of Assisi and what you can expect if you decide to go there. Most famous for being the birthplace of St. Francis, patron saint of animals and ecology, Assisi has been a destination for pilgrims for many centuries. So let's take our own pilgrimage of sorts there now. Benvenuta Isabella, welcome onto the Untold Italy podcast.
Thank you, Katie, for your invitation. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you with us. And I was just sharing with our listeners how much me and my colleagues here at Untold Italy love Umbria. It's such a special place, and you get to live and work there, lucky you. But before we get started about probably its most famous town, could you please introduce yourself to our guests and let them know about your passion for your region and what you do?
Yeah, I was born in Perugia a long time ago, and I studied foreign languages. I graduated in linguistic mediation. I'm a translator, an interpreter in Russian and German, actually. And I worked for big companies until 1999. And then I decided to combine my passion for foreign languages with art. So I decided to become a tour guide. I've been working as a tour guide since 2001, and I love it. I'm still very passionate. I can say that. After 22 years of being a guide, I'm still very passionate.
Oh, what do you love about it?
I love meeting people from the whole world. Every day I meet different people. I like, showing them the beauties of my region. I think I'm a people person. I like sharing, art, culture, food, wine with them.
Amazing. And I know how much you love Umbria, and I won't get you to pick a favourite town just yet, but we're going to talk about probably the most famous town in your region, which is Assisi. So let's explain to everyone where exactly is Assisi so they can get a picture in their mind about where in Italy it is.
So first of all, Assisi is right in the middle of Umbria. Okay, Umbria is nestled in Italy. It's one of the 20 regions. And as a very famous historian, Giacomo Piovene, said, it's an island without the sea. So we don't have any exit, exit on the sea, but we have a beautiful lake, many rivers. We have a green sea because we are surrounded by rolling hills, mountains, fields. And Assisi is, the most visited one. It's usually visited by 4 million tourists every year. It's, the native town of a very famous saint, Saint Francis, and also of Saint Clare. So it's the spiritual heart of Umbria. Actually, Umbria could be considered the spiritual and mystic heart of Italy, because the most important saints were born there. Saint Benedict, Saint Scholastica, Saint Rita. And if you're romantic people, you celebrate Saint Valentine, who was born there. So we are really, mystical area, mystical region. And Assisi is a kind of a master, because it's also the place where the best, the most talented artists worked in between the 13th and the 14th centuries, such as Giotto, Giotto from Florence, considered by many the forerunner of the Renaissance.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town, and Umbria really is the green heart, and it's kind of like hiding in plain sight, isn't it, between Rome and Florence, and you've got Tuscany on the side, and people just, somehow they might go to Assisi if they're very lucky, but 4 million people visitors, it sounds like a lot, but in the overall, in how many people visit Italy, it's probably not that many. But why do people go to Assisi? What's the history behind it?
So Assisi was founded by the Umbrians, first of all. The Umbrians are considered very first, the oldest people who settled in Italy. Pliny the Elder, the famous Latin historian, said that we are the gens antiquissima Italia, the oldest people. And they gave the name to my area. They founded cities such as Spoleto and Narnia, the famous Roman colony of Narnia. Assisi later became a Roman municipality, and famous travelers, the Grand Tour travelers such as Goethe, used to go to Assisi to admire one of the best preserved Roman temples, so the Minerva Temple, which is still to be seen in the main square of Assisi. So we have a lot of Roman vestigia or ruins, such as 2 Roman houses decorated with magnificent mosaics. That's the reason why somebody said that Assisi could be considered the Umbrian Pompeii. So Assisi is, of course, famous, as I said before, for the presence of the body of Saint Francis, this founder of the first mendicant order in the world, the order of the Franciscan friars. He was a very rich man. He was a bourgeois man. He belonged to the bourgeoisie, the middle class. He wanted to raise the social scale, so he joined the army in 1202, but he was taken prisoner. He stayed in jail in Perugia for 1 year. When he came back home, he was very confused. He didn't know what to do, and he popped into an abandoned church. He heard Jesus' voice who told him, "Francis, don't you see that my house is in ruins? Go and rebuild it." He misunderstood Jesus' words initially. He rebuilt churches like a mason. And a few years later, he got the real meaning of Jesus' words. So he had to moralize. He had to rebuild the Catholic Church. So he became, the first, maybe, reformer of the Catholic Church. He moralized the spiritual church.
So there was some things going on in the church that were maybe not so pure, shall we say, that needed to be reformed.
It was, secularized. It was a secularized church. They used to, the church was experiencing a very deep spiritual crisis and needed to be renovated. So he renewed the Catholic Church. He was immediately made a saint after he died. And on top of his tomb, they built a shrine of art. So it's not only the venue of a religious revolution, but also of an artistic revolution. That's where famous artists such as Cimabue, Simone Martini, Pietro Lorenzetti broke out with the Byzantine art. So Assisi is also the right place for art lovers, not only for pilgrims.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's always been on the pilgrim route, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's been welcoming visitors for centuries, going to see the body of St. Francis. But, but there's many other things that you can see and do in Assisi.
Yes, for sure.
I mean, I think that's the first place where people go, isn't it? They go, and maybe it's the only place that they go in Assisi. They might go to the cathedrals.
Yeah, which is a shame. I mean, it's a shame. No, it's a pity.
But maybe they would tell everyone about the cathedrals, and then we can tell them about all the other wonderful things you can do there.
Yeah, we have a basilica. It's a basilica, but made of two superimposed churches. So we have the lower part built in only 2 years. So Francis died in 1226. He was made a saint 2 years after, and the day after his canonization, the same Pope Gregory IX blessed the cornerstone of that basilica, which was finished, the lower part, in just 2 years, 1230, when Francis could be buried in there. And then they had to interrupt its building because the follower of St. Francis was excommunicated.
Oh, why was that?
Because he was too close to the worst enemy of the Pope, the German Emperor, Frederick II of Swabia, who was actually a good guy. He was a good Christian. He was the only one who conquered Jerusalem without using weapons, without using violence.
Oh, how did he do it?
Thanks to his diplomatic skills, he knew Arab. And he had in his entourage, in his court, Jews, Muslims, and Christians peacefully living together.
My goodness.
He gave them the same rights. So this is what we all should do now.
Yeah, I was just about to say, where's Frederick II when you need him?
Yes, I'm still in love in him. He died. He's my, I'm in love in a man who died in 1250.
I get it. Well, there's a lot to admire about someone that can use their diplomatic skills to bring peace to so many people. I think that's an amazing role model to have, for sure. Was he good looking? Just to be really basic about it.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad.
In a 13th century kind of way.
He was married. His last wife was called, like me, Isabella.
Maybe you're the reincarnation. Who knows?
So before, of course, Francis died, he appointed, as his follower, this friar called Elia from Cortona, okay? This friar was one of the, let's say, friends of Frederick II. He had very tight connections to the emperor. He was the Germanic emperor, Frederick II. And so as the Pope, hated him, he excommunicated, the friar and the German emperor. And that's why they had to interrupt building Francis Basilica, which was later finished. So within 25 years, they built 2 huge churches, one on top of each other. 2 churches called Basilica, it's only one, Basilica of St. Francis. It's a papal one, belongs to the Vatican State. That's why many popes celebrated services in there. It's a papal basilica.
It's pretty impressive when you go in there to see that it was built in 25 years, when you think some other basilicas like maybe Sagrada Familia.
Exactly. Not yet finished. Not yet.
It's a beautiful church too. So when you go in the underside of it, you go into the ancient part, don't you? And
yes,
it's a very beautiful church. Even if you're not religious, it's very moving.
Exactly. I always say it is spiritual, you feel a special energy, especially in the lower parts. The lower part, invites people to meditate.
I agree, yeah.
It's completely different. They are completely different from each other. The lower part is Romanesque, not very elongated, very dark. It symbolizes the death. The upper part is very high, elongated, plenty of light. So it represents the Easter mystery. So for people who believe it, that's the death and the resurrection. But anyway, it's an important place also for art lovers. It's a kind of museum. You can see the evolution of art.
What's your favorite piece inside the basilica there?
I like the lower part where Francis is depicted next to the Virgin Mary, and Mary is doing this gesture, she's pointing, I always say she's like Italians, she speaks with her body. That's a very innovative gesture, the Virgin Mary is not like usually depicted holding baby Jesus, looking at him. She's pointing with her body, Francis. So these are speaking gestures. That's, the artistic revolution which took place in that church in between the 13th and the 14th centuries.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's a really beautiful place. I'm not religious myself, but I could spend a long time.
Neither am I. I'm very spiritual, but not religious.
But you can feel, like you said, a different energy in there. And, obviously where the artists that painted that were obviously feeling some energy too, because it is a different, like if you compare it to somewhere like St. Peter's or some of the other big churches, it feels a lot more personal. Like it feels a lot more intimate, that you could have like a more personal relationship with God or whoever you believe in or whatever you believe in. And I can understand why people come there, even if they're not, religious, because you can get a really interesting sense of peace when you're there.
Francis is considered a universal saint. So he talked to the Egyptian Sultan during the Fifth Crusade. So he wanted to demonstrate that it's possible to live with Muslims, and he did that. So he didn't want to convert anybody. So he's beloved by everybody, by all confessions, all religions.
Yeah, he was just focused on love, wasn't he? And spreading peace and generosity and love, yeah.
Exactly. So he used to preach universal values such as peace, respect for everybody, for the nature, for the animals.
Yeah.
So Assisi, is the symbol of the capital of peace in the world. And that's where John Paul II, I don't know if you were too young, I think, in 1986, John Paul II invited to Assisi the Dalai Lama. And the representatives of all religions in the world, they all went there and prayed together for peace. So that was the very first ecumenical meeting for peace, 1986.
Maybe we should have another one this year, I think.
We need it.
We need it. Yeah, exactly. Now, Isabella, you mentioned there's another, apart from St. Francis, there's another saint that is famous from Assisi. Who is that one?
It's Saint Clare, Chiara in Italian. She was a noble woman. And, women had only two chances in their life. They could either get married or become a nun. And Clare, when she was only 19, she gave up all her worldly goods. She renounced her father's inheritance and decided to go in the footsteps of St. Francis. She actually wanted to help the poor, visit the lepers, the sick, like Francis, like the Franciscans. But as she was a woman, she had to accept a compromise with the Catholic Church. So she had to be cloistered, meaning she was not permitted to stay outside her monastery. And we still have in Assisi 38 nuns living in the first monastery dedicated to St. Clare, 38 nuns.
And are they all Italian or are they from around the world?
No, we have a few foreigners too.
And so what's she known for? What's, how St. Francis is a patron saint of animals and ecology. What's Clare known for?
It's not actually an Italian tradition, but in Spain, in South America, when people get married, they pray Saint Clare to have good weather for the wedding. The friend that we have in common, she has to pray St. Clair now.
One of our colleagues is getting married in Umbria next year, and we need to get her to pray to St. Clair. Exactly. So she's the patron saint of weather. You know what? Where I live, sometimes the temperature drops by 15 degrees in 2 minutes. So I think we need St. Clair too.
Well, she performed many miracles, actually, many miracles.
And Assisi, like, it's got this whole religious and spiritual legacy. But what else is there about Assisi? So when I was there last year, we got there fairly late in the afternoon and we missed a lot of things. So I feel like I do need to go back. But I mean, even just when you walk out of the basilica and you walk up the hill and you can see the surrounding countryside, and it's a breathtaking view. It really is. But I'm sure there's much more to Assisi than views and the basilica. What else can we do there?
Well, you can, stroll around. You can, visit these narrow alleys. I call them alleys, narrow streets, decorated with beautiful flowers, like in the nearby Spello. And then, I don't know, maybe they could also taste local specialties, such as the cookies Francis wanted to have before he died, the so-called mostaccioli. Do you know that Francis wrote a letter to a woman? He had a woman as a friend called Jacopa de Sette Soli.
Oh.
And he had a very special, relation to her, because when he was feeling that, the time of his death was close, he wrote her a letter asking her to bring him the cookies he liked so much, the mostaccioli. And this woman is the only one which could be buried inside his grave. The only woman whose remains are still to be found in his tomb. Jacopa de Sette Soli. He wrote her a letter calling her Brother Jacopa, Frate Jacopa. Please come to the Porziuncola Chapel where he was, brought before he died. Please come to the Porziuncola Chapel and bring me some tissues, linen tissues I would like to be covered with. And please bring me the cookies I like so much. The mostaccioli, made with most. Most is, when you squeeze the grapes before the fermentation, you have a kind of grape juice called mosto, in Italian, mosto. And so he wanted to have, his most beloved cookies before dying, mostaccioli. And she's buried in there. He had a very special relationship to her.
What a beautiful story. I think he seems like so human, like when you tell the story, it's like...
Yes, so human, exactly. That's the human part of Francis. That he unveiled only to, maybe to his best friends, to his closest friends.
Yeah, such a beautiful and simple thing to ask for when you're having your last breaths is your favorite cookies. And I think, maybe if we spend time with people that are, in their last days of life, and I remember my own grandmother, I remember something that she asked for and was similar to that. So it's a beautiful thing.
His last desire,
Have you tasted them? Do they still make them in Assisi?
Yeah, still, especially during the vintage. During the vintage, when you have the grape juice, so you make the mostaccioli. You can still find them in many bakeries.
And are there many bakeries in Assisi that you can go to, or is there a favorite one? Or
yeah, there are 2-3 bakeries in Assisi. Sensi is one of the best.
Thinking about the geography of Assisi, because it's right up on the hill, right? So, but the main car park, if you're a visitor, if you come into the town, or I'm assuming if you come by bus, if you're coming from Perugia.
If you come by bus, yeah, exactly. If you come by bus from Perugia, you get right, to the town. So yeah. Exactly, right below the basilica is a big parking lot where buses can arrive. And so from there, it's just, 5 minutes walking.
Yeah.
Or you can arrive by train and then take a taxi or a bus, and you can go all the way up to the Basilica of St. Clair, and then you can do the visit, from the top all the way down, walking down the hill.
I think that would probably like a good idea, because I feel like most people are going to come to that main parking lot and then go to see the two basilicas, maybe walk a few streets around and then go out, right?
I usually suggest to start from the top. You could also start from the very top of the town, from the Roman era, from the Roman, Roman district, Perlici district, where the layout of the amphitheater is still to be seen. You can still see the oval-shaped layout of the arena, of the Roman amphitheater. But, the amphitheater is no more to be seen because they built on top.
As usual, yeah. Recycling.
Yeah, as usual, they recycled. Exactly, they recycled.
It's a really interesting thing, because I was just thinking, well, if you look at Google Maps, you don't get this sense of the height or the levels of the town.
No.
And it's pretty steep, people. I'm telling you, I think it's a very good idea to start at the top, having walked up.
Exactly.
You start at the top, then you can walk downhill and maybe stop off for your mustaccio cookies along the way.
Exactly, or gelato.
So if most people, would they come, let's just say they were coming from Rome, because you can sort of do it as a day trip from Rome, can't you?
Yeah, you can. Or you could take a train from Rome. Now we have very fast trains. So in 2 hours, you get to Assisi from Rome. And then from the rail station, you take a bus or a taxi. So in 2 hours and a half, you are in Assisi.
So just to describe this town, it's a typical town, isn't it, from Umbria. So Umbria is really known for the hilltop towns made of stone and cobbled streets, and people are really proud of their environment, and they love to plant pot plants with lots of colourful flowers. And so you have this beautiful town, which I think is pretty unique in Umbria as well, with the Roman ruins and the basilica. So it's got a lot of things happening there. You could easily spend half a day at least exploring.
Yeah, if you like hiking, if you are an adventurer, you could also, walk from the highest part of Assisi all the way up to the Hermitage of the Prisons, which is a great spiritual place where Francis used to go and meditate. And there's a nice, hiking trail where you can stop, enjoy the views, see the olive groves.
The typical Umbrian view, because the olive groves, or when I think of Umbria, I think of olive groves, I think of sunflowers.
Vineyards, sunflowers, poppies.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And there's lots of nice restaurants as well in Assisi where you can go. I remember we stopped and had dinner just looking at the sun setting down over these beautiful hills, because you're up so high, you can see everything all around you, and it's just stunning, stunning view. And of course, because like most places in Italy, most people just come for the day and then they leave. And so in the evening time, it was absolutely beautiful because it wasn't very busy, and you can just taste all that delicious Umbrian food, which, I don't know, people don't know so much, but they should.
We have a great reputation for cured meats, for salami, a very flavorful prosciutto, sausages. So these are called norcinerie. Norcinerie, because the tradition comes from Norcia. Norcia is the native town of Saint Benedict, and that's where they started, curing meats. I think one of the delicacies they should try is the prosciutto. Prosciutto from Norcia is different from the Parma, or different from the other ones. And in general, the cured meats, the norcinerie. They should taste, norcinerie, cured meats with cheeses and olive oil. That's our yellow gold. They cannot miss olive oil. Umbrian olive oil is considered one of the best.
Yeah, so is the Nocceria because it's really famous in Italy. There's people will go out of their way to get this particular cured meats. Umbria is good at a lot of things, but it's not so good at marketing.
So I admit it's true. We are starting now doing serious marketing. The region of Umbria is investing now some money in commercial, in marketing. I don't know if you had the chance to see the last two commercials by a marketing studio from Milan. Studio Testa from Milan is considered the best in Italy. And they really made two interesting and well done commercials about Umbria. They haven't been translated, I think, in English, but they are excellent, really excellent.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that because sadly, I think, unfortunately, a lot of the marketing that comes to the English-speaking audience does not showcase some of this amazing heritage that you have in your region and in other regions of Italy, unfortunately. I need to be careful what I say, but it's not very creative, let's just say.
You're right. No, you're right. The last two ones have been quite creative.
That's excellent. I think it's such an amazing region that's so undervalued for some reason. And in that way, I really love it because when you go there, you don't feel like you're a part of a big crowd. You feel like you're experiencing life and you feel like you're experiencing life as it's been for a long time because someone was telling me, another guide was mentioning to me that with Umbria, because it's landlocked, there haven't been so many foreign influences over the cuisine, over the way of life. So it could always be said that it's quintessentially Italian, like the ultimate Italian, because, like when we talk about Sicily, which I really find exciting as well, is that there's been so many different influences, but here maybe you find the pure Italy.
Yeah.
And around Assisi, there's so many other things to do too, isn't there? So, it's not far from Perugia, which is a really nice town, but there's also vineyards that you can visit. And someone told me about a picnic that you can do in the vineyards.
Not far from Assisi is a winery, and they are very, very smart because they created this kind of a picnic, in the valley and overlooking the town. You can see Assisi, and while you're having your picnic, it's nice experience.
Is that Sao Assisi?
Saio. It's called Saio. Saio means tunic. Means robe.
Oh.
Il saio di San Francesco is the tunic of St. Francis.
Ah, very clever. That's the name of the winery, the Tunic of St. Francis.
Yeah. In Assisi, you could also have some Italian classes. So if you want to learn Italian, there's a school where you can study the Italian language.
I think that would be a beautiful place to learn it, though, because you would really, I think there's not too many distractions there.
No distractions, no discos, no. If you want to learn Italian, the right venue would be Perugia. Perugia is the place where they founded the very first university for foreigners in Italy in 1926.
And it's another beautiful spot. Now, is there anything else that you would like to tell us about Assisi that you think we should know?
Well, I would suggest to do the tour of the Roman ruins, Roman vestigia, such as the two Roman houses painted with frescoes and decorated with mosaics. They could visit also the underground Roman Forum, the Minerva Temple, Roman Temple, and the area of the amphitheater. So that's something, they could do in Assisi. So it's not only about religion.
And also there's a castle?
Yeah, there's a castle, a huge castle, a fortress, a papal fortress, which has just been renovated. So they could either walk or take a minibus, electric minibus, and inside they can, do a tour of the castle and see amazing views of the valley. They can see all the way to Spoleto. They can see Perugia. They can see the whole Umbrian Valley.
Sounds like a pretty strategic spot for the popes.
That was the place where Pope's troops had been living until 1860, because we were under the power of the Pope until 1860.
But has it seen much conflict, Umbria, or has it been fairly peaceful for a long time?
No, always fighting. We were always fighting.
Between different towns, or
between different towns, and also we used to have internal fights, rivalries between like Romeo and Juliet's families. In Assisi, for example, the upper part was fighting against the lower parts, and we are now reenacting these rivalries in a magnificent festival. It's a medieval festival called Calen di Maggio, which takes place on the first weekend of May. That's something they should also enjoy.
Yeah. So what happens in the festival? I love the festivals. Everyone who listens to this podcast knows how much I love an Italian festival.
People are dressed up in medieval costumes. They have parades. There's a choral contest. So they compete, with choirs. They elect the most beautiful woman, Madonna Primavera, and they reenact typical medieval daily scenes. And there's a jury which is going to elect the best parts, parte in Italian, the best, It's not a district. We don't have, like in Siena district, we have parte de sopra, parte de sotto, the upper and the lower part.
So it's a 50% chance you can win. 50% of the people are going to be happy. Everyone else is crying.
Exactly.
But I think this is really lovely about Umbria, because you have that, it's very strong on, if you think about Tuscany is very strong on the Renaissance side of things, and then Umbria is very medieval. Everything is like
very medieval, yes. And I would suggest not to go in summer, but also in winter. I suggest to go in winter because, for example, for Christmas, they're going to see these beautiful churches illuminated with special lights. It's video mapping. So they project the famous frescoes painted by Giotto and Cimabue on the facades of all churches. And then they place in front of the church a complex of statues connected to the fresco they are transmitting, video mapping. It's something special.
I really feel like this is another marketing opportunity, let's just say, for Italy, because there's so many, places in Switzerland and Austria and Germany that do a really, talk about their Christmas markets. But what Italy does brilliantly at Christmas time is the illuminations or the projections of these beautiful lights onto the buildings. And I can imagine, having seen Assisi at nighttime without the illuminations, which was pretty special actually in itself, I can imagine it's very, very beautiful actually.
Yes. And they could also enjoy one of the many live nativity scenes. So nativity scenes or Christmas crash, I don't know how you call them in Australia, made of people, real people. So you have a baby born, you have, Mary, Joseph, the shepherds, you have really great live nativity scenes.
Oh my goodness.
Christmas time is, I think, one of the best times to come.
And would that start around the 8th of December like it would in...
Yes, starting from the 8th of December until the arrival of the Magi, so January the 6th.
Look, I just think everyone listen, because summer is not always the best time to visit Italy, I think, and this is a really great example. We love to go when we're going on our tours in Umbria in spring and fall because of the flowers and because of the olive harvest. But here we have a situation at Christmas time, and if you can only go at that time of year, my goodness, I've got to say, Umbrian food is made for winter. You have the porchetta.
Exactly. I forgot to mention the porchetta, the best street food. Mamma mia, they are going to excommunicate me as an Umbrian.
You're gonna have to go and pray to Saint Francis or Prince Frederick.
Exactly. I need an indulgence now. I need an indulgence.
As a porchetta is the perfect thing for the indulgence.
Yeah, porchetta. How can you forget porchetta?
You cannot. I know it is very delicious, and it's it's not just a pork roast; it's the ultimate pork roast you've ever had in your life. I don't know. You just have to try it. You'll just have to go there and try it. Oh, Isabella, this has been such a lovely chat. If our listeners want to learn more about Assisi and Umbria, stay in touch with you and perhaps join you on one of your amazing tours, how can they do that?
Well, you could visit my website, www.tourguideumbria.it or .com, or my Facebook page, which bears the same name, Isabella Belluci, Tour Guide Umbria. But in my website, you can find many suggestions about my sensational Umbria, so about Assisi and many other towns and hamlets, because we are considered the region of 100 hamlets, borghi.
I love that word, borghi.
Dei 100 borghi.
Grazie mille. Isabella, thank you for taking us to Assisi and for joining us on Untold Italy today.
Grazie Katie, and arrivederci in Umbria.
Arrivederci.
Ciao.
You know what?